Scar Modeler. Jace here, glad to have your company once again. Well, huge shout out and big hello to everybody. And, well, I'm back for, well, the second episode since August last year. Just taking a quick break, watching Australia dominate the cricket. It's great. Paddy Cummins, congrats on your 6 at Lords. You're on the board for the first time. Best figures for an Australian captain since 1982, Mr. Bob Willis. So, well done, Paddy. Right, well, what have I been doing since the last video? Well, I did attempt to do an unboxing video on the Bismark, just didn't seem to be right, so I canned it, and here I am doing with this one. So, what have I been up to? Well, I'll bring the camera down and I can show you I'm doing, and I think it's in the background there, is it? Yeah, the Famo. So, I think I mentioned I was doing that in the last video. And having some success. Now, I'm not a builder that got to rush. And well, anybody that watches Aussie Modelers Live will know that the tank sitting there to go on this Famo. It's been in the works for about 3 years, but I really have moved along with this, and I'm not an out-of-the-box builder. Very rarely will I build out of the box after building for over 50 odd years. I always try and, what would you call it, challenge myself to learn different things. And look, I'll watch different builders on YouTube to see what they do, and whether, you know, just because I've been doing it so long doesn't mean I'm doing it the bloody right way. So yeah, so we'll get into it. I'll give you a quick pan down on what I've been doing and what I'm where I've progressed to so far, and how it's evolving, and you can, well, you know, we can work through it. Like, I mean, you know, for mixing, well, we'll get into that. So we'll move the camera down here, and you can see. Right. So we've got the motor going there. Now, you'll see that that's pretty flat, and these have got some gloss on it. Now, there's a reason I've got a gloss on those is this has got to be painted. Hang on, there we go. Yeah, so they let me get the tweezers here. They've got to be painted like a reddy brown, a dark kind of brown, and I'm sure that whatever they're made out of steel, whatever alloy, but it wasn't red and brown all the way through. So I'll be throwing I've got some cotton buds, and I'll be putting a bit of chipping medium or hairspray out of, you know, just spray it in a cup and give that a bit of a dab over and give it that wear and tear. Also up here I'll be doing the same, and throwing some on the sump. Hang on, let's go there. Throwing some on the sump there. Yeah, there is that seam line there, so that will, you know, I'll give that a bit of a sand up, and well, that is one of the lowest parts of the vehicle, so absolutely. Maybe a bit on. I'll be throwing in some sand, some. I've got some AK stuff there, throwing it in there, because, you know, this isn't going to be brand new out of the, you know, like, look, we've just arrived in North Africa, here we go. So that's what it is. It is a North Africa Famo, and there wasn't many there, but they were there. So I've done that so far with the build, and now we move on to the chassis of the Famo itself. Right, now I'm just wondering, is that the camera's going to pick that up? Right, so let's go here. Right, that's top. Yeah, this is bottom of chassis, top of chassis. So what I've done when I've sprayed this, so I've got primer, I've got my dark grey. Now the reason it's in dark grey is not because that's just going to be its final colour. Not one bit at the least. And it is because they're all painted in dark grey. And then when they were sent to whatever battlefield, or they were in, they just threw whatever camo on top of that. So on the bottom here, you might be able to see where I've gone through. Hopefully you can see. Come on. You can see little bits of lightness where, and it's on the other side as well. And I've got to do some more weathering, including here on that part of the transmission, of where you've got your tracks going along here, crap's being kicked up and in and under, and I want that to be weathered. Hopefully in the diorama side of things I shall be able to have this be able to lift it from the diorama, separated from this trailer, and be able to, like, if I do enter it in a comp, show the working, maybe just take some photos, whatever, put that with it just to show that. Right, so that part's done. And I know most is astounded, my God, he has actually been building. Right, I'll move that tool out of the way. I'll move that to the side. Right, these are just some parts of the front, the steering. Just in German grey again. Now some parts will stay, they'll just be flat, but these are still in gloss. Some of these parts, they will be a flat clear will go over them, and a light dusting, because, well, again, steering, you're gonna get dirt right up your steering. Right, you can see my little saw there. Right, you'll see. These are some of the wheels on it, front, back, sides. Now you'll see ones that are in half because they link onto these ones with the notches out of them. Once they go on, well, let's do an example here. Right, okay, we'll put, I think they go there, and these will be weathered, yes, hang on, as we speak. That will go in there, and that will marry up like so. I hope that works. So yep, that mat, because you get the whole, where are we? So that'll go there. Now I have, and moving on to this paint that I was talking about, and the reason, and I'll show you some colours I've done. Right, so, where are we? Wrong one. Again, another great to make it. Right, that goes there. That'll go there. And for shits and giggles, and just to show you guys, this will, once I locate that in there properly, like so. Oh yeah, and that'll just push in. Still a tiny little bit of sanding up against this leading edge. Let's lock that one on there too. But these are all off and will remain off until I do the weathering. So there. So this will be painted in this paint that I was talking about. Now it is, hang on, I'll just jump up out of my chair here. Right, and I'll show you the final colour. Right, hopefully you can see that there. Right. So we've got some DAC and some 413 or RLM04. Now the ratio on those is, what do I work it out at? 1 RLM, yeah, so 1 DAC to 1.25 RLM4 yellow, which then takes you up into that nice, it's still DAC, but it's just a shade different. It gives it that, and you'll see when I get to finally, when I do the body, a lot clearer. You might be able to see some weathering I've done on that so far, which leads me, and we'll put those two beauties, hang on, maybe it's better on that one. Oh, let's see, can we get a better shot? Yeah, there we go. So just on the inner rims, where you get your normal wear and tear. So, where was I? I was lost in my own lunchtime. Yeah, again, I'll be doing the body on that and the wheels, that's right. So I'll be doing a light spray just in here, plus my oil, like my oil washers and all that sort of stuff, especially getting, oh, there goes the compressor, and that should be picked up nicely in the background. Any time now would be great. You can stop, and again, right around, not too heavy. You'll see in the next update on the build. Right, as again I said, I'm not a scratch builder, so this piece here comes as a solid unit, and as you can see straight through there. All those were scraped out, and I do have some mesh to go behind that using this tool here. Now it's a Porter Models craft tool. Now that one is 0.07. Right. This one is 0.15 of a mil. Right, and to get into wherever it was, are the side bits here of this. So in here and in here, it was narrower on both sides. So I had to use the back of the blade to keep scraping and scraping and scraping, and this will be tidied up at the back. Yeah, so you'll see the progress on that. Now, for a few years, and I've been working on, I'm still working on the Borderlank and that, and I've got very different plans of what I want to do with it. But all us modelers, we come up with all this, put all this effort into inside the fuselage or inside the vehicle, or, you know, and people never get to see it. So I brought these crappy cameras, or they're fairly crappy. I think they're about $3, $4 each. Temu or one of those mob, and it's one of these. It's a Wi-Fi camera, right? And it is Wi-Fi, and you can put an SD card in it. About $3 or $4 each. There was nothing, absolutely nothing. Now they come in that case. Well, they did come in that case. Come with this backing. Right, that goes like that. I popped it out and now that, well, we're going to put that on. Now that isn't going to fit in any fuselage I know. Oh, you could squeeze it somewhere in the lank because it would fit that, but I thought, well, the way everything is located, how do like you haven't got much to manoeuvre, so just for perspective, like, what do we got here? That's inches, we want inches. Right, that is... What are we looking at? 3.5, nearly 3.5 centimetres there. Yeah, yeah, so about that wide, and it's just too much. So, me being not leaving well enough alone, I thought, oh, we'll pull that apart, and that's what you're left with. Well, that is what you're left with. So there's your little camera. Now, that will fit in a 172 length. I know because I've tried it. Yeah, well, that's... Hang on, let's see if I can stop that doing this thing. Yeah. That will sit in a length, and this is how she's operated, guys. So there's your storage card facility. It comes with the micro USB. So you could run that. You could have that stuck up inside the fuselage. You could have it hiding in a bomb bay. You can mount that camera wherever you want. Now, I will be doing a bit of a search on where the power source, and I'm not sure I'll be able to de-solder that because you do have the memory card there, where the power source is. So if I can just power this unit, will that work also? So I'll be doing a bit more research on that. Again, it's why it takes me a lot of time to do models. I just my brain just can't just sit still with them. So there we go with that. So what we'll do now is I'll just clear this out of the way, and I'll bring up and we'll do a rough unboxing of this German Bismark 1/350 scale that Andrew from Full Bore Model sent me. Well, he did send it. He said, but I ordered it back in January last year. So surprise. So bear with me, guys, and we'll be back. Right. Well, here we are, back. Everything's sort of away in front of you. You can't see the junk up there. I forgot to say, one of the things I use, depending on on what I'm building or what effect I'm trying to get on my weathering, this is a pack of 4 tooth. It came from a pack of 4 kids' tooth brushes from a $5 shop. So I got 4 for $5, and as you can see, I have ratted that with a pair of scissors in different lengths, and again with your hairspray or your chipping solution or whatever your salt, whatever you prefer to use. I found this gives me that control, that toothpicks are good and all sorts of things, but it gives you that. You can just go across, and you'll get that randomness by all the different heights you've cut, and make sure you get I get a mix with the stiff and the soft. The soft gives it that tiny little flick at the end, so that's what I use on that. Right, we'll bring the Bismarck up here in bits and pieces, so I'll put it on my lap here. Yeah, you can probably see it in the background there. I'll be taking off the lid. I'll turn that upside down like there. Alright, okay, so Academy Bismark. Move that over there. Right, bring that back there. There we go. If anybody can read that to me one day as a bedtime story, that'd be great. Gives you a picture of the finished model there. And then we move into the building instructions. As you can see, fairly, well laid out there. Moving back. Not a lot to it by the look of it. I suppose, like anything, I mean, I will be doing. I'd like to promise myself, no, just build it straight, how it is, all good, but I can't do that. I'll just, and I wouldn't say it to you guys because, no, I'll be looking for this and that and this and that. So, yeah, there's your superstructure. And you got your board and your aft. Dark sea grey, just gives you a colour call out there. Now it's an academy kit. I mean, what did we get up to there? I mean, 22 steps, and you've completed the 1/350th scale Bismarck. There's your sprues. It tells you, what you need. I'm guessing that's suggestive selling. You could have the pigeon pair, the turpits and the Bismarck. Right, so I can go in the box. What else is in the box? Yep. How to apply decals. Just your warning. And some more warnings, like that's to make sure you've checked everything. And yeah. Suggesting you use that cement. Just your usual scissors, nippers, or cutters, and a good set of tweezers. Right. Even suggests you do not drink your paint. Don't swallow or chew your pieces that you need. Don't put the plastic bags over your head or put them over kids. Yeah. So, yeah, good hints and tips there. Right. First thing we'll start off with is, there we go, the base in a beautiful brass base there. Yeah, I don't think I'll be using that. I'll probably make up a timber one. There we go. I can't even do a bloody base. So, right, we'll go to this sprue here. Sprue B. Detail's not too bad, I suppose. I mean, it is thick plastic, I can tell you that. Like, she's pretty hefty. And it's a good time for me to be able to check the sprues here. Got an anchor there. Some gun barrels, some windlass, some lights, some vents, some more barrels, and rightio, we'll put that one back. All exciting. I mean, if I don't sound excited, it's not because I'm not looking forward to building it. I'm just looking and going, okay, where's the challenge? Like, look, there goes the compressor again. Should have turned off. Too late. Right, back we go in there. Right. Now, this is chunky. Have a look at that. That is thick. Still got the ruler handy, so let's see, what are we looking at here? Nearly 2 mil thick. That is a thick piece of plastic. Yeah, noticing it looks just in there. It looks a bit stressed for some reason. How is it looking on the back? Yeah. Look, it's only 1350. It is an Academy kit, so I'm not going to go, oh my god, yeah, I've been robbed. So, no. Right. Another part of the base. The joy. Okay. Audio. Oh, we've got the nameplate there. And part of the frame for it. Bring it all together. What do we have here? Okay, we've got some aerial stuff. We've got some gun turrets. Yeah. Right, and pretty much the same here. Yeah. Right. Put that over there. They can go back in. What's that? That is E and D. Not a lot of sprues. You wouldn't think with 22 steps in an instruction. Right. Here we go. Not the detail isn't too bad. Again, 22 steps. Yeah, you can't really. Yeah, so possibly against. Again, that's another. That's an F. Yeah, just more machine gun barrels. More main gun barrels. There is another piece of the Bismark signage in there. As I said before, guys, I did have a peek and tried to do a video, but it just wasn't going to happen. Circumstances said no, not today. Right, again. And I will get better lighting. I am working on a plan. There's some lifeboats. There's a little plane there. Another little plane there. Lifeboats. So, yeah. Here we go. Oh, try to get back in the bag here. Right. Now you've got your forward and aft deck there. And moving on to the hull. Right. Going to need a bit of cleanup. Look at that beautiful scenery. Oh, and it runs all the way up and all the way right down there. So, yeah, that's going to need a good cleanup. So we'll put that back there, sit that back there. Oh, we'll put that there. Whoop, I'll left that out there. I'll go back in there. Right. Top. down there. This can come up here. All right, guys, that's it. Thanks for having a look at that. I didn't... Look, you can't ridicule it. I believe that'd be a great, if you're in the ship, so it'd be a great beginner model by the look of that. Very simple, 22 steps. I mean, there's lots of... The parts don't seem that small, which is great. So, yeah, but... Would I sit down with my 9-year-old grandson? Yeah, I'd sit down with him, you know, we could work through that together. Right, don't forget, guys, Aussie Model is live this Sunday, 7 p.m. on a Sunday. Pop in, join the chat, and yeah, we got GB Models joining us this week. It's going to be great. What else? Yeah, you know, people are actually building models on the channel in live as we speak sometimes. Me, I'll keep you updated on the Famo and where I'm at and what I'm doing. You know, as I said, I've paused the Panzer because she's nearly done, putting it on the back of the trailer, making sure everything's right. Oh, that was one other thing, just before I go. Right, so we all, you know, hobby stores, great, online, all that sort of stuff. Now, your cable winch for your tanks, if you're in an armour or whatever. I was helping the wife the other day, we were doing one of the cupboards, and the cupboard of doom, as I like to call it, and look at that. Can you see that? That is perfect scale. That is picture framing or picture hanging wire, and it's very malleable. Like I say, you know, just straighten it out, whatever you want to do. What can I do here? So we'll do this. And roll it around. Whatever. Straighten it back out. Cut it to whatever length you want, and you're off to the races, so they say. And you get a heap of it. And $2.50, $3 at you know, your reject shop, silly sollies, whatever you know, your $5 shop. Yeah. How good is it? So that was pretty good. But anyway, guys, thanks for joining me. I'm going to try and get out that one video a week at least. I'll update you on, again, where I'm at with the Famo. Waiting on cards, and white card, and a few other things to come back in stock. Some brass tubing, some brass rod from V&A, and it's on the wish list, so as soon as it comes, I'll have it. Then I'm going to move straight from the Famo on that, once I finish that, to continuing the wife's Supernatural Impala, Android full bore, setting the files for Sam and Dean Winchester, and he's doing that printout for me. And I'll do a little, you know, maybe roadside diorama of the Impala. I've got the toolbox, the tools. I have proceeded, like, you know, the bonnet, but before I take any of that off completely, boom, I want to locate those hinges so I know, nice and clean, up she comes. Righto, guys, thank you again, and as I always say, it's all good, and catch you later. Oh, like and subscribe.